There was a man named Lee Byung-chul who was a curious and adventurous boy who loved to explore the world around him. He was born in 1910 in Wiryong, a small town in southern Korea, where his family owned a large estate. He was the youngest of 4 siblings and the only son of Lee Chan-woo and Kwon Jae-lim, who were members of the Jeongju Lee clan, one of the most prestigious families in Korea. Lee Byung-chul enjoyed learning new things and had a talent for languages. He studied Chinese, Japanese, and English at home with private tutors. He also liked to read books and magazines about history, culture, and science. He dreamed of traveling to foreign countries and seeing different places and people. When he was 18 years old, he convinced his parents to let him go to Japan to study at Waseda University, one of the most prestigious universities in Asia. He wanted to learn more about business and economics, as well as art and literature. He was fascinated by the modernization and industrialization of Japan, which contrasted with the traditional and rural life of Korea. However, Lee Byung-chul soon realized that life in Japan was not easy for a Korean student. He faced discrimination and prejudice from some of his classmates and professors, who looked down on him as an inferior colonial subject. He also witnessed the brutality and oppression of the Japanese military regime, which ruled Korea with an iron fist. He felt angry and frustrated by the injustice and inequality that he saw around him. Lee Byung-chul decided to drop out of Waseda University after 2 years and return to Korea. He wanted to do something meaningful and positive for his country and his people. He had a vision of creating a successful business that would provide quality products and services to customers, as well as jobs and opportunities to workers. He believed that business could be a force for good and a way to improve society. In 1938, he moved to Daegu, a city near his hometown, and started a small trading company called Samsung Sangho, which means 3 stars in Korean. He had 40 employees and sold noodles, dried fish, sugar, and other goods to China and its provinces. He was a visionary businessman who saw the potential of expanding his market and diversifying his products. And after 9 years he moved his headquarters from Daegu to Seoul in 1947. Hoping to take advantage of the capital's resources and opportunities. However, his plans were disrupted by the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950, when North Korea invaded South Korea with the support of China and the Soviet Union. Seoul was captured by the communist forces within days, forcing Lee and his staff to flee south with whatever they could carry. He left behind most of his assets and factories, which were either destroyed or confiscated by the enemy. Lee did not give up on his vision, though. He relocated his company to Busan, a port city that became the last stronghold of the South Korean government and the United Nations forces. He resumed his business operations there, using his connections and reputation to secure contracts and supplies. He also donated money and goods to the war effort, earning him respect and gratitude from the authorities. One of his most important contributions was setting up a woolen mill in Busan, which produced uniforms and blankets for the soldiers. He also established a radio station called Shil Broadcasting System, CBS, which broadcasted news and entertainment programs to boost the morale of the people. He also invested in new technologies and industries, such as fertilizers, chemicals, and electronics. Lee Byung-chul was determined to survive and thrive in the midst of chaos and uncertainty. He believed that Samsung could play a vital role in rebuilding and modernizing South Korea after the war. He also hoped that his company could compete with the global giants in the future. In the 1950s, he started to invest in new industries and technologies, such as textiles, chemicals, and electronics. He also expanded his operations to other countries, such as Germany, Portugal, and the United States. He hired talented engineers and researchers who could develop cutting-edge products and solutions. In the 1970s, Samsung Group entered the electronics industry with several subsidiaries that focused on different products and components. Samsung Electronics was the flagship company that produced TVs, radios, calculators, and air conditioners. Samsung Electromechanics made electronic parts and materials. Samsung Corning made glass tubes for TVs and monitors. Samsung Semiconductor and Telecommunications made memory chips and logic chips. Samsung Group faced fierce competition from Japanese and American rivals in the electronics industry. It had to overcome the challenges of low quality, high costs, and lack of brand recognition. It also had to cope with the political and economic turmoil in Korea and abroad. However, it also had some advantages, such as a strong domestic market, a loyal workforce, and a visionary leadership. In the 1980s, Samsung Group embarked on a series of reforms and initiatives to improve its competitiveness and reputation in the electronics industry. It restructured and streamlined its operations, focusing on core businesses and eliminating unprofitable ones. It invested heavily in research and development, hiring top talent from around the world and creating new labs and centers. It also encouraged a culture of creativity and risk-taking, urging its employees to change everything except your wife and kids. However, everything's going to change when the death of Lee Byung-chul in 1987 due to lung cancer had a profound impact on Samsung Group and his family. His death triggered a succession crisis and a power struggle among his heirs and affiliates. He had 4 sons and 4 daughters from his first wife, Park Do-yul, and 2 more children from his mistress, Kuroda. He had not named a clear successor before he died, leaving his eldest son Lee Maeng-hee as the nominal head of the group. Lee Maeng-hee soon faced challenges from his younger brother Lee Kuan-hee, who was favored by their father and had more influence in the electronics division, which was the core business of Samsung Group. Lee Kuan-hee also had the support of some key executives and board members who saw him as a more visionary and charismatic leader. Lee Kuan-hee eventually ousted his elder brother from the group in 1988 and became the new chairman of Samsung Group. Lee Kuan-hee's ascension to power was not welcomed by his other siblings and relatives, who felt that he had usurped their rightful shares and positions in the group. They filed lawsuits against him, accusing him of misappropriating funds and assets from their father's estate. They also claimed that he had violated their father's will and wishes by restructuring and streamlining the group, focusing on core businesses and eliminating unprofitable ones. Lee Kuan-hee's leadership also faced external challenges and pressures from the government, the public, and the competitors. He had to deal with the changing market dynamics and consumer preferences in the electronics industry. He had to cope with the rising competition from Japanese and American rivals who offered cheaper and more innovative products. He also had to overcome the legal and ethical issues that tarnished Samsung's reputation and credibility. Despite these challenges, Lee Kuan-hee managed to transform Samsung Group into a global leader in electronics. He invested heavily in research and development, hiring top talent from around the world and creating new labs and centers. One of the results of its efforts was the emergence of Samsung as a major player in the semiconductor industry. Samsung became the world's largest producer of memory chips and LCD screens, supplying them to other companies such as Apple, Sony, and Dell. Samsung also developed its own microprocessors and logic chips, competing with Intel and AMD. Another result was the success of Samsung in the mobile phone market. Samsung entered the market in 1988 with its first mobile phone, but it was not until the late 1990s that it started to gain popularity and market share. Samsung introduced its first digital phone in 1996, its first CDMA phone in 1998, and its first internet-ready phone in 1999. Samsung also pioneered new features and designs, such as flip phones, slider phones, camera phones, and touchscreen phones. In the 2000s, Samsung continued to innovate and expand its product portfolio. It launched its first MP3 player in 2000, its first DVD player in 2001, its first plasma TV in 2002, its first Blu-ray player in 2006, and its first smart TV in 2008. It also entered new markets such as digital cameras, laptops, tablets, printers, and home appliances. One of the most notable achievements of Samsung in the 2000s was the launch of its Galaxy series of smartphones in 2010. The Galaxy series combined Samsung's expertise in hardware and software, offering powerful performance, stunning displays, user-friendly interfaces, and various applications and services. The Galaxy series quickly became one of the most popular and best-selling smartphone brands in the world, rivaling Apple's iPhone. In the 2010s, Samsung Group was eventually led by Lee Kuan-hee's son, Lee Jae-yong, who became the vice chairman of Samsung Electronics in 2012, and the de facto leader of Samsung Group after his father's hospitalization in 2014. Lee Jae-yong had to deal with the changing market dynamics and consumer preferences in the electronics industry. He had to cope with the rising competition from Chinese rivals such as Huawei and Xiaomi, who offered cheaper and more innovative products. He also had to maintain Samsung's leadership in the smartphone market, where Apple's iPhone was a formidable competitor. Lee Jae-yong also had to face legal and ethical issues that tarnished Samsung's reputation and credibility. In 2015, Samsung was accused of sabotaging the labor union activities of its employees and subcontractors. In 2016, Samsung faced a massive recall of its Galaxy Note 7 smartphones due to faulty batteries that caused fires and explosions. In 2017, Lee Jae-yong was arrested and convicted of bribery and embezzlement charges in connection with a corruption scandal that involved former President Park Geun-hye. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but was released on appeal in 2018. Despite these challenges, Samsung Group continued to innovate and expand its product portfolio. It launched new models of smartphones, such as the Galaxy S series, the Galaxy Note series, and the Galaxy Z series. It also introduced new products such as smartwatches, tablets, laptops, VR headsets, wireless earbuds, and smart speakers. It also ventured into new markets such as biotechnology, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and autonomous vehicles. Samsung Group also continued to invest in research and development. It also collaborated with other companies, such as Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook, to enhance its products and services. It also supported social and environmental causes, such as education, healthcare, disaster relief, renewable energy, and sustainability. Today, Samsung Group has a dominant position in South Korea's economy, accounting for more than 20% of the market value of the Korean Stock Exchange, and about 20% of the country's gross domestic product. Samsung Group is considered the most successful and influential company in Korean history, and also has a strong influence on South Korea's politics, culture, and society. Thank you for watching the Info AI. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more episodes. Also, don't forget to comment below on what topic you would like us to cover next. See you next time.